Hey guys, in today's video, I'm going to preview the 2025 Wimbledon women's final between Swiatek and Anisimova. And let's talk about the semifinals first. Anisimova takes out the world number one, Sabalenka, and this is a huge surprise. In recent times, Anisimova has changed her forehand technique, and her forehand has gotten a lot better. And this was evident in today's win against Sabalenka. But the Anisimova backhand is the best backhand on the WTA Tour. Up to this tournament, I always believed that it was Coco Gauff who had the best two-handed backhand on tour. But now, I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, the Anisimova backhand is absolutely phenomenal. She can hit it cross-court. She can hit it down the line, but it goes deeper than that. Anisimova's second serve return is currently the best in the world as well. Now, in the past, Anisimova's struggles weren't of a technical nature, apart from the forehand at times not being that dependable, but most of her issues were on the mental side. And after that break from tennis that she took, her mental game is very strong. Now, I've heard today people referring to the fact that Anisimova lost in the first round of the qualies last year. That is true. She lost in the third round of the qualies to Eva Luce. But if you look at Amanda's results last year, they were very consistent and they were quite good. So even at Wimbledon, she took out Baptiste in the second round, which is a big win on grass. And losing to Eva Luce is no shame because she's a very solid player. Now, right after Wimbledon, Anisimova qualified in Washington and made the quarters. And then a week after that, she made the final of Toronto, where she beat Sabalenka in the quarters in two very easy sets, 4-2. So if you look at Amanda's results, since she came back to professional tennis, she's been not steadily rising, she's exploded back to the top of the game. Now, when you look at the baseline game between Sabalenka and Anisimova, it's similar in regards to power, but if you look at their swings, especially on the forehand, you can see stark differences. So Sabalenka at times will straighten her forehand out, but she will also add quite a bit of shape to her forehand. And this is especially true when Sabalenka wants to keep the ball in play or when she gets a little bit tight. Now, this goes right into the Anisimova wheelhouse. So if anybody gives Anisimova a little bit of height, she is incredibly lethal and she's going to hit winners left and right. And this is exactly what was happening in that third set. So Anisimova played well in the first. Sabalenka came back strong in the second. And that third set was very interesting because Anisimova went up 5-2 and was serving for the match at 5-3, but lost her serve and then ended up breaking Sabalenka to win the third set 6-4. Three factors that helped Amanda come through that third set was the second serve return, which she was absolutely crushing. It was handling those low balls around the half court that were slices from Sabalenka. And it was trusting her ground game and playing aggressive without decelerating. She was going for her shots and she was making her shots in the most important stages of that match. Now, I've talked yesterday that Iga Swiatek is going to be extremely dangerous in every second week of Wimbledon because when that grass starts to become worn out and it starts playing more like clay, Iga, the best clay court player in the world, is going to have great chances to win Wimbledon. Iga has to have a high first serve percentage in the Saturday final. In the semifinal win against Bencic, this is some of the best serving that I've ever seen from Iga. At one point, she was averaging 114 miles an hour, which is extremely fast. And she was making a lot of first serves and hitting her spots. This is going to be crucial in the final against Anisimova. However, if Iga comes out with a low first serve percentage, that second serve kicker is going to sit right in the wheelhouse of Anisimova, and she's going to put Iga under a tremendous amount of pressure. Now, of course, the Anisimova serve is very important too. In today's match against Sabalenka, Amanda did throw in a double fault here and there. So she's going to have to serve well to have a chance against Iga, who happens to be a phenomenal returner as well. But off the ground, Iga is going to have to adapt her style a tad. And I think she's done that during these 2 weeks at Wimbledon. Iga has played very aggressive from the baseline, and she wasn't playing with as much shape as she normally plays with. So this is the type of style that she must utilize. She must put Anisimova under a lot of pressure because, again, if Iga gives Anisimova some height, she's going to be in a lot of trouble. Despite the improvements on the Anisimova forehand, Iga is going to have to open up the court on both sides and expose the Anisimova forehand on the run. Today's semifinal against Sabalenka, up 4-2 in the third. Anisimova hit a forehand down the line that clipped the tape and rolled over. And this was a controversial point because Sabalenka said, "Are you going to say sorry?" Now, a lot of people, including the announcers, were saying things like, well, why say sorry if you're not really sorry? I made a video a while back where I discussed the unwritten laws of tennis. And of course, when you hit a netzroller, which is the perfect word to describe such a shot, it's basically a ball that rolls over the net. So it's a very lucky shot, and you're super happy to win the point, no doubt about it. But you have to say sorry after a shot like that because you did get lucky. These are the unwritten laws of tennis. If you don't do this, your opponent is going to give you dirty looks, deservingly so. Now, you might say, Nick, what's the point of this if it's not genuine? Now, do you know what the most common unwritten law of tennis is? Well, it's the shaking of the hands after the match. There is no rule in tennis that tells you that you have to shake the opponent's hand. You do it because it's part of tennis. And of course, the last thing that you want to do in some matches is shake the opponent's hand, but you do it anyway because these are the unwritten laws of tennis. So even though players don't mean it, the right thing to do is to put up your hand and say sorry. But back to Iga's tactics against Anisimova. She will have to find that forehand on the run because Amanda will give some errors here and there when she gets put on the run on the forehand side. I think a lot of players on the WTA Tour can learn a lesson from Tatiana Maria. I keep talking about this tournament because it was one of the most spectacular things that I've ever seen on the tennis court. Tatiana Maria took out the absolute elite of the WTA Tour, and she did it by slicing. So for Iga to make Amanda's life more difficult, I do think that she will have to utilize lower balls in general and avoid looping the ball with too much height, but also maybe introduce some drop shots or slices, because despite Amanda knowing how to hit those shots, her transition game in the Queen's final fell apart, possibly due to nerves, and it's quite likely that that part of her game will be shaky in the final as well. Now, one more thing that I want to say about Iga is her mental game and her confidence. So I've talked in many of my previous videos about the struggles that Iga has had ever since the Olympics last year, where she couldn't take the title at Roland Garros, which probably hurt her a lot mentally. But I feel in this tournament, Iga found herself. Possibly that tournament in Bad Homburg helped her a lot for sure. Reaching the semifinals of Roland Garros helped her because prior to that, she had lost to Coco Gauff in Madrid by only getting 2 games. And then she lost to Danielle Collins in Rome right after. So just based on Iga's body language, the way she's playing, and also the score lines in the matches, I think Iga is back and she's going to start dominating the tour. Because one thing about Iga, when you look at her results, the fact that she can beat top 20 players or even top 10 players with score lines like 1-0, 2-0, 2-1. This, quite frankly, reminds me of some of the greatest players in history, such as Serena Williams and Steffi Graf. Now, again, I'm not saying that she's going to blow Amanda off the court. She could if Amanda comes out with a lot of nerves. I do think this is going to be a very open final. Both players have a good chance of winning, but I do believe that Iga is back, and once we transition from the grass to the hard courts, she's going to claw her way back to being ranked #1 in the world.